Hey guys, Zuch here. This video is the first in a series of replay reviews that I'm doing. For those that aren't aware of what I'm talking about, I opened up, sent an extended invitation to people to submit games that they wanted me to analyze, looking for critical feedback about their in-game play. This isn't really looking to give advice on deck building or, how they could improve their deck. This is more focused on in-game decision making, strategy, mechanics, positioning, etc. For those of you who are interested in participating in future segments like this, I've included a link to the Discord server below in the description of the YouTube video. Feel free to go there to learn about how to submit a game that you want me to analyze. If you're worried about having your blunders aired out for the entire world to see, don't worry. You can always ask to remain anonymous. Our brave volunteer in this first video didn't ask for that, so we're going to be seeing Son of Makuta's name up there on the screen. He is running a budget spell high deck. He sent me a little bit of info about the deck beforehand. It's budget in the sense that it doesn't have any Heaven's Eclipses. I don't think it has any Onyx Bear Seals, and he's running some filler cards in place of those. That's fine. I mention it merely to stress as it's a consideration for when we're making in-game decisions about how to, what to replace and why. So I guess without further ado, let us go ahead and continue this game. All right, so we've got our hero here on the left, mystery opponent here on the right. I'm going to always block out opponents' names. It's not fair to them to, have their name on blast if they make mistakes as well. But that's neither here nor there. So this isn't a great opening hand for him. Presumably he's running, at least 6 2-drops. I would assume Chakri Avatar, since he said it's a spell high deck, and probably something else. I don't know. But I almost certainly would throw something back. The Hammond Blade Seeker seems like it's one of the first things I would throw away. And then probably either the Four Winds Magi or the Saberspine Seal, depending on sort of what I thought the deck wanted to do. If it was a more aggressive deck, I might look to keep this. But I think I would err on the side of throwing this back. The only real matchup that I want to keep Saberspine Seal in my opening hand for is against Lionar, because it's a really easy and efficient way to clear out a Silverguard Knight. In other cases, this deals 3 damage, but you're almost always going to be using it to clear out, like, I don't know, a 2-3 with your general or something. It doesn't seem particularly efficient, and this is great at almost any point in the game. So I would probably throw back these cards. Let's see what our hero decides on. I think the other reason I would keep Four Winds Magi is because it's the type of card that can... okay, he decided to throw it away. That's fine. We didn't hit a 2-drop, so almost certainly going to throw something back. I think, again, I would throw back the Saberspine Seal. I really like keeping Mist Dragon Seal. It is a way to sort of get a lot of value out of Lantern Fox. It goes from being, just taking 2 hits and then dying to taking an additional hit, which sort of translates to an additional Phoenix Fire, which is great. So it's not a combo per se, but bumping the toughness of Lantern Fox by even 1 health point, to me, often generates a lot of value. Against Vanar, it almost certainly is going to get Chromatic Colded or killed pretty quickly, so I don't really think that that's going to matter, but that's sort of something to keep in mind in the future. I like, personally, keeping Mana Vortex, especially if you're playing a spell high deck. It allows you to do some fun stuff, especially in the early game, but I could see throwing back Mana Vortex or Saberspine Seal here. Alright, so he runs forward. I presume he's going to replace something. Alright, he throws back the Mana Vortex. Luckily, we got a 2-drop. Perfect. Plop it down. So this is a perfect example of why I think Mana Vortex would have been the better card to keep. It's going to let you do a lot more fast stuff. So here, like, if he had a Mana Vortex in hand instead of the Saberspine Seal, he could move the Chakri Avatar onto this mana tile, move his general near the other one, play a 3-drop, a 2-drop, and then, Mana Vortex into Mist Dragon Seal to turn this into a 4/5 to kill something. So he would have taken, have 3 threats on the board, presumably to his opponent's 1 or 2. Or, sorry, 0 or 1. Alright, our opponent plays Sworn Avenger way in the back. We're almost certainly going to want to kill that. What I think I would do here, granted we no longer have our Mana Vortex, so we can't sort of do the play I had talked about, which is come forward here, move forward here, plop down a Jaxi or Lantern Fox onto this tile, play another creature, and then use that boost from Mana Vortex to play Mist Dragonseal to use our Chakra Avatar to kill this guy. That's not available right now. I would probably throw away Saberspine Seal right now. Again, for the same reason as I said it before, it's not the greatest of tools at this point in the game. I really like using it to clear out huge threats or to do a lot of damage near the late game. As it stands, let's see what happens. Alright, so we replace into Killing Edge. So there are sort of two things that one thing I definitely am not going to suggest, which is Killing Edge this guy to just do a ton of damage. That would let the Sworn Avenger pick it off next turn, so we don't want to do that. In fact, we almost certainly want to kill Sworn Avenger. The only way that we have to do that is Mist Dragonseal. So our play is going to entail using Mist Dragonseal on the Chakra Avatar to kill this. And I guess the next question is, what are we going to do with the other mana that we have? We're probably going to want to play Lantern Fox. It's the best minion in our hand. And I see us moving forward and putting it here and using the mana from that to Mist Dragonseal down here and attack. Okay, let's watch what our hero does and then critique his play mercilessly. Alright, so he elects to take this mana tile, leaving this one open. Alright. There are a couple issues that I see with this play in particular. Well, not a couple. One main one. So he correctly identified, I think, the two cards that he wanted to play this turn, namely Fox and Mist Dragonseal. The issue here is that he left this mana tile open right in front of his opposing general. So opposing general now is going to get to cast a 5-drop spell if he has one in hand. Or 2-mana spell and a 3-mana spell. If he had left either one of these two mana springs open, he could still use 5 mana effectively by coming up, putting a 3-drop here, and then using the remaining mana to play a 2-drop, or 2-drop here and 3-drop. But now he's allowing the opposing general to have an additional resource at his disposal, and a pretty significant one, namely being able to cast a 5-drop this turn, or being able to cast 2 spells that total up in 5 mana. So what I would have done is, instead of, it's just a subtle difference, instead of taking this mana tile, I would have placed the Fox on this mana tile right here, and then Mist Dragonsealed this guy, leaving both of these mana tiles open. So we'll see what happens. And we drew a 4 Winds Magi. That's pretty good. Alright. So General walks here. He cryogenesises. If he has a Chromatic Hold, that's pretty brutal. Okay. So it sort of illustrates the exact sequence of plays that it could have been avoided had you taken this mana tile in front of the general instead of the one down here. So we could have prevented at least one of those spells from being cast. I can't say that he wouldn't have done something else like play a 2-drop and then Cryogenesis, or play a 3-drop and then Chromatic Hold, but in either case we would have not had both of our threats removed from the board. So going on to our turn, we're going to have 5 mana at our disposal. So what that means is we can play a 4 Winds Magi, or we can try to replace into something. I kind of like the idea of, if we're going to keep this, okay. So I've been talking about throwing back Saberspine Seal the entirety of the game, this replay, and this is the exact point when I would have actually wanted to have it in my hand, because we want to be able to utilize the mana. We're going to want to take this mana tile, right? If we don't, we're sort of allowing our opponent to take it. The other option here is to move forward right here and place our Four Winds Magi right above the opposing general. Well, I'll get to what I think I would have liked to have done. I think I would have liked to have moved up one space, played the Four Winds Magi right here to give us that 5th mana, and then Saberspine sealed us and then attacked. That would put our opponent at 19, and we'd have a sort of host of threats at our disposal. Next turn, I sort of envision us blinking the Four Winds Magi into range, killing, edging it, and then attacking for, I think it would have been 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we would have put our opponent to 7. And this is sort of like the planning out aspect of strategy gameplay that I like to think about. Like, you know, if we do this turn, how does it impact our ability to do stuff next turn? The alternate thing that I think I would do at this point, or you could have done it with Saberspine Seal in hand, it doesn't really matter, is move up one space, and then take our Four Winds Magi and put it right above the opposing general. That does two things. First, it really effectively blocks off the opposing general's ability to get this mana tile. Sure, he could, you know, Hearth Sister the Four Winds Magi out of the way, walk up through his Hearth Sister, and then take it. Or he could Cryogenesis, move up, and take it. But in either case, he's going to have to use a spell or a resource before getting to the mana tile, which suggests historically that he's not going to be able to really use this to its full potential, right? So he has 5 mana on his next turn. You'd really want to like play a 4-drop and then play a 2-drop or something like that. But you're not going to be able to do that because you have to use your mana first to even get to the mana tile. So at most he'd be able to do something like Cryogenesis this, play a 2-drop here, then play a 1-drop. And it just, I don't know. It's not unlikely considering he's probably running Snow Chasers, but I guess the important thing to note here is one of the best ways to block off a mana tile is to do so in a way that requires them to expend mana to remove sort of the impediment first before they can get to the mana tile. Sort of went on a rant there, but let's see what happens. Alright, perfect. That's what I would do, and I'd put the Four Winds Magi right here. Okay. So, there's really no reason to, I think, put it there. Yeah, you can blink it out of the way. I wouldn't be scared. I don't think that this Four Winds Magi is dying anytime soon. That having been said, I don't hate his play because, you know, it's protecting the Four Winds Magi. He can't, you know, hook up a Snowpiercer and kill it or play a Saberspine Tiger and kill it. I mean, he can with Kinetic Surge, but he can't attack it with his general and then Chromatic Hold it. So this is a fine play, I think, especially since he has this Killing Edge in hand. I don't think I would have done it because at that point in time you didn't have any way to get Four Winds Magi back into the fray, which isn't necessarily something that you want to do, but on an empty board, especially with Killing Edge in hand, that represents a lot of damage. So, regardless. Lightbender, no. Okay. I just thought of one small thing that I think I would have changed from my earlier suggestion. Instead of walking forward right here, I think I would have walked forward above the general last turn and played the Four Winds Magi behind me. As that, I have my dog here. As that sort of play protects against Dancing Blades. Sort of a moot point now, but all right. So this is what our board state looks like this second. What do we do? I see a couple of options. What I think I would like to do is, like, presuming we don't throw anything back, I'd probably throw Deathstrike Seal back because, you know, we're not going to Deathstrike Seal this guy, right? Who cares? And we could keep it for this Jaxi. I don't know. It doesn't seem that exciting to me. I think one thing you could do is Phoenix Fire this and attack it with your general, then come down and Killing Edge your Four Winds Magi. That would put your opponent to 14. That's not too bad. The other option is just, you know, trade in here and then throw something like Mistdragon Seal away, try to find a creature. Let's see what our opponent, or let's see what our hero does. Alright. Throws away Death Strike Seal, gets Saber Spine Seal. That's pretty good. Alright. Alright, Jaxi. Alright, so I think personally, I would have preferred to have been more aggressive there. Yes, this guy's been dispelled, but he's still a 4/4. And if you put a Killing Edge on him, he's an 8/6. Like, that's a huge threat. That literally kills him, I think, in 2 turns with the other cards in your hand. So, like, you know, you attack him, put him to 14 after you, kill this guy. And then if he doesn't have an answer for this, you get to Mist Dragon Seal it next to him, attack him down to 5. You have a Phoenix Fire or a Saber Spine Seal to put him to 2, and then, just attack him for lethal. So I don't really like not attacking here. I especially don't like not Killing Edging. What I would have done, deploying another threat is fine. I think what I would have liked to have done is use the Phoenix Fire in my general to kill this, and then use our remaining 3 mana to Killing Edge and smash in. That might be a little aggressive. Obviously, using the Saber Spine Seal here to kill the 4/4 is a little less mana efficient, but this card is a little more practical at clearing out like 2/3s and stuff. If we were going to try to do this, I probably would have liked to have been more mana efficient, because I foresee us really being choked on mana in the future. So this turn, where I would have been is the following. I would have placed my 4 Winds Magi behind my general to protect from Dancing Blades a little bit. First of all, I would have Phoenix Fired and smacked his Lightbender. I would have placed the 4 Winds Magi here, and then Killing Edged it and attack, putting my opponent at 14. Being that as it may, what happens here? Our opponent plays Voice of the Wind, and then Chromatic Colds. Okay. Notably, if we had done our play, his Chromatic Cold would have killed our 4 Winds Magi, so there's that. He still would have been at 14, and we still would have had all this other stuff. So I'm not saying that my play was wrong, but it's still the play I think would have made it. It puts him in a low life, but we'll see. Okay, what do we do here? I really like keeping the Gorehorn. Okay, what do we do here? So we just drew a second Killing Edge. This represents 12 damage by itself. That is insane. I think, personally, I just like being aggressive here. I mean, I always play more aggressive, I think, than most people. Sometimes to my detriment. But I really like the idea of just putting him to 8, like smashing in. Either way, I don't know. I would either... I also don't really want to leave this on the board. So the safest play, obviously, I think, is Killing Edge this guy once, come down here, kill the Voice of the Wind, deploy Gorehorn, not necessarily directly behind him. You can put it out of reach so that you can blink him into the fray and that it doesn't die. But I would probably come down here, Killing Edge this, smash here, move my general where the 4 Winds Magi is, attack here, and then deploy Gorehorn here. So you've sort of got him surrounded with a backstab minion behind him with another Killing Edge in hand, and you've got an 8/1 sort of sitting out in front. So I kind of like that play. Let's see what happens. Okie dokie. Cool. Okay, I can get behind this. I probably would have attacked. I feel like you're the aggressor in this position. I mean, you've got 2 threats on the board, one of which is 8 power. And you've got a bunch of burn in hand. I feel like here you just want to be trying to use your life to take away your opponent's life. So with all with all this boost, burst damage in your hand, it's better that he gets lower. Your life points are less valuable than his life points, and so I would make that trade. I'm not going to say it's wrong for him not to attack, but I think I would have attacked. All right, what happens? Notably, our opponent has only one Chromatic Gold left in his deck, which is nice. Kinetic Surge. Alrighty. Murkblood Devourer. Ephemeral Shroud. Well, that'll kill it. Snow Chaser. Okay. What do we want to do here? I kind of like all of these. One thing to note is that if he had not placed this Gorehorn way back here, then you wouldn't have even need to, like, we drew into this Mist Dragon Seal. If we hadn't drawn this, it would have been impossible to get Gorehorn behind the general. So I think that's one of the reasons why my initial inclination was to put the Gorehorn directly behind the opposing general last turn. Yeah, it sort of puts it in range of being attacked, but if we hadn't drawn this Mist Dragon Seal, it would still be out of range even with Blink at our disposal. Being things as they are, I think it's a pretty obvious series of plays here, in my opinion. I think you Phoenix Fire this. I think you Mist Dragon Seal down here. I think you Killing Edge this thing and attack. That's going to equate to 10 damage, and you can put him to 8 if you attack with your general. And then afterwards, I think you have enough mana to blink him away. I'll probably do that. Alright. That is the first step of what I would do. Huzzah. Alright. So I think I would have blinked. We had 1 extra mana, and this resets next turn, so there's literally no downside to using this blink. I would have blinked it away, because right now, he doesn't even have to expend a card in his hand to kill this thing. Like, this is a huge threat that you can jump around the board, and he doesn't even have to, like, come up with an answer. He's got 7 powers worth of stuff on the board just to remove this. Worst still, he can move his general out of the way, play a bunch of dudes that get bumped by Devourer first, and then trade it off. So by not blinking your Gorehorn away here, you are giving up a huge ability to sort of maintain control of the board. That said, he does have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage right here. There's a high likelihood that Son of Makuta might be dead here if his opponent has like 2 Saberspine Tigers. Even without a pump, they would be 4 power each, right? So if one of them had gotten pumped, if he has 2 Saberspine Tigers in hand, our hero is dead. Okay, so the general runs away. I kind of presume that this is going to happen. Another Murkblood Devourer, getting pumped by this one. Ash Mephit coming down, getting 2 pumps. Yeah, so all of a sudden, you could have gotten your guy out of the way. I'm not necessarily sure you could have killed, gotten him to the opposing general. But what happens now? This is frightening. I think you probably keep Hammond. Okay. Because he's at 10, and I don't envision there are spiral techniques in this deck. Alright, Hammond Bladeseeker. So those are only play. Where should we have put it potentially? I don't think I like it here because even with Blink, you can't get it to the opposing general now. Like, he's too far away to get to the opposing general, which means, like, I don't know what good this guy is right over here. He's just going to start dealing you damage. I would have put this in a position where it's out of reach of this Ash Mephit, but you can blink it up to get him, right? So that could have been right here, because you could have moved it diagonally and then blinked it down and attacked. You know, granted, obviously, some of this will depend on where all these guys are. You could have also, at the end of your turn, blinked it over here. It could, yeah, it's still in range of this Murkblood Devourer, but, you know, you're that much closer. You're easily within blinking and moving distance to get the general. So I think I probably would have blinked it over here just to get it in striking distance of, you know, the opposing general there. And our opponent only has two cards in his hand. Hearth Sister turns out to be a moot point because he's just going to die anyway. Oh, okay. Well, our opponent, or our hero, conceded. Look, it seemed like he was staring death in the face. One thing to note is if he had blinked his Hammond Bladeseeker over 2 spaces, then he could have outrun the Hearth Sister. I don't know, you know, what that ultimately would result in, but it's better to be alive and be searching for cards with your opponent at 10. I mean, that 10's a low number. You could kill him somehow. Oh well. Anyway, that's game number 1 of our replay review series. Stay tuned. Next up in this video is going to be replay number 2. All right, we're back. This is the next game in the replay review series. We've got Zatone over here playing a mystery player. I don't know much about Zatone's deck. It looks like it's a control Magmar, just judging from the Silithar Elder and the Earth Sphere. So the very first question is, what are we going to mulligan? All right. I really like the idea of keeping Flash Reincarnation and Silithar Elder. I mean, you only need to hit 5 mana, and that means you can drop it as early as, you know, early as turn 2 if you end up being able to pick up a mana tile next turn. I would say easily throw back the Earth Sphere, and then that's probably all I would throw back. You can use this young Silithar to get a mana tile next turn, probably, depending on where you put it. So I'd just throw this back. I'd keep everything else. Let's see what our hero does. Okay. He ends up throwing back the Silithar Elder, which makes me sad, but let's see what happens. Play, please. All right. Unsurprisingly, our hero, or our enemy, the bad guy, comes forward too. And we have a decision. Do we want to throw anything away? I personally think I would probably... it's so hard. I don't think you're going to get a much better option for natural selection, as just judging from our hand, right? So you've got a 1-power creature and a 2-power creature that turns into a 0-power creature. This seems like the ideal time to play this natural selection, notwithstanding that, you know, you're not developing your own board. But Lionard tends to have some really good 4-drops like Deoltis. So I would probably kill this right now. I would also probably throw away Keeper of the Veil. It's not really needed right this second. We'll see what happens. Right, throws away Flash Reincarnation. I feel like if you're going to play that in the deck, I mean, spoiler alert, I played a Magmar deck recently and posted a video where I have Flash Reincarnation, and I kept replacing it in my opening hand. But it seems to me, if you're going to run that card, it's going to be one that you want to have in your opening hand, right? Like, a 2-mana boost is the most powerful when you have the least mana to begin with. So, like, once you have 9 mana, getting 2 extra mana is sort of like whatever. If you have just 3 mana, 2 mana is, you know, almost doubling your mana for that turn. I'm not saying that it was necessarily the wrong card to throw away, but if I'm going to have that card in my deck, I'm going to want to probably hold on to it for a couple turns in the early game. But then again, I'm being super hypocritical because I did this exact thing in my video the other day, so who am I to judge? Yeah, I probably would have thrown this away. You know, all your creatures are really sort of meh right now. Well, we'll see what happens. All right, he's playing Kujata. I am not a fan of this play because it sort of turns off your natural selection. So, I mean, if he moves down here and Arjen moves forward, then that'll be fine to get. But you're also letting him get an extra mana early, which to me is problematic. And that's sort of presuming that he comes down here and moves his general forward. I like to prevent my opponents from getting that extra mana early if I can. Plus, you don't really have anything you're trying to ramp into with this Kujata. Like, you can basically play everything in your hand. But, it's not that bad of a play, I guess. Well, let's see what happens here. Sort of see a Dial Toss coming out. Silverguard Knight, okay. And a Tempest. No! Okay. What do we do from here? I think you can probably... Well, I'd still probably throw away this Keeper of the Veil. It's not going to get... It's not going to be a great play played right now. You're getting back a Kujata. Or, you know, a young Silithar, presuming that some of these die. I would probably replace this and see what we get. Okay. Probably would not have replaced the young Silithar because, like, the best play that I see happening this turn is just playing 2 young Silithars. Because he's not going to be able to clear all of them, I don't think. You know, in a perfect world, you could Vindicator this Windblade Adept, but you can't do that here. So yeah, I don't know. Given that he replaced that, I'd probably... I don't know. See, that's sort of the pickle with throwing that card back. I don't mind just playing the Vindicator and like moving it over here out of the way of all this stuff. So that next turn, if you play Keep the Veil or something, you can smash in and clear a bunch of stuff. That's probably what I would do at this point. Play the Vindicator like right here and move it backwards. Okay. Alrighty. I probably would, if the plan was to play young Silithar, I would have placed it in a position that doesn't let it get cleared next turn. So right now, he doesn't even have to do much. He can just move his general here, attack the young Silithar, and then clear the egg. If you had put the young Silithar, like, you know, over here or behind you or something like that, he could have killed it, but he couldn't have cleared the egg. So it's sort of a moot point to kill it. I generally always try to prevent my opponents from being able to dictate which creatures live and which creatures die. You know, you don't give them an option. And by putting it here, he's allowing his opponent the option of using his resources to clear this young Silithar or just going face. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, but I would be very surprised if this young Silithar survived the turn. And he might just want to play an Ironcliff Guardian too, but that seems like a sort of a waste to me. You can play it next turn and clear the board and develop a 4-drop. Okay. Sure. There we go. A Dial Toss. Alright. See, now we're in sort of a pickle. Okay. Well. I'd really like to use this natural selection to kill the Dialtos Tombstone. If you had 1 extra mana this turn, it'd be really nice. You could Vindicator this away, Overload, kill the Dialtos, and then natural selection the Tombstone. You'd still be going to 14, but it clears the board, which I sort of like. If you're going to be playing Keeper and not replace it, I feel like you should probably just play it out right now. I don't think that there's a great other opportunity. I mean, like, Otherwise, you should have just thrown it back a couple turns ago, or throw it back this turn and hope for something better. Another option is just Vindicator the 3/1, and then Natural Selection the 5/3, and then just attack the Tombstone. You set yourself up for a pretty scary Divine Bond, but that is a nice way to stay at a healthy life total. Regardless, I would probably... Let's see. I would probably play this just because you're developing 2 creatures on the board. I'd probably throw away Diretide Frenzy right now, though. Although it is going to be great with, a Tombstone on the board. So I could see doing any number of things, but I'd probably throw away the Diretide Frenzy right now. All right. Yeah, it seemed like if you were going to keep that in your hand for so many turns, I feel like you'd either play it on 5 or have replaced it earlier. So it seems sort of counterintuitive to get to the mana cost and then throw it away. But regardless, all right. Now I would either just clear this. You could clear this and then Earth Sphere. That seems fine to me. Especially since next turn you can Vindicator with Diretide Frenzy to clear out the Dial Toss at no life loss, and then overload and attack the Tombstone. Or alternatively, again, you can just Vindicator and then Natural Selection this guy. That seems fine as well. Okay, that's a good idea. I'll go ahead and say this. I think his play was much better than mine. It's not a line that I thought of, which was just use your health to clear that Earth Sphere and then overload so that he can't trade in with... He only gets to deal 5 and not 10. So kudos to Zatone for that play. I feel like I would have come up with it had I not been trying to talk, but regardless. Okay, what happens now? All right, our hero is going to take 7 damage, dropping him to 17, potentially 15 if the opposing general decides to attack. Okay. So he replaced the Silithar Elder. I don't know if I would have done that, but regardless, here we are. Because, you're at 6 mana. You only need 1 more mana till you're able to play the Silithar Elder. It's a pretty powerful card, right? Well, if you're going to run Flash Reincarnation, you might as well do it now, right? You can flash out Vindicator, then play Sojourner, and then Diretide Frenzy the Sojourner to, draw 2 cards. Then you could actually kill the other Dial Toss. That would take 1, 4, 5, 6 mana. That doesn't seem the worst, because then you get to draw 2 cards. Running away also seems fine. You could also just play Vindicator out and play Sojourner as well. That seems like a good play. I probably would have moved. I probably moved the Vindicator down here. I guess it stopped maybe too early. No. Yeah. Let's see what happens if he decides to move Vindicator or not. Okay, no. I probably would have moved Vindicator because right now you're setting. So this is something I always try to keep an eye out for, right? Right now there is one spot, the spot that Argion is currently standing on, that can affect all of these minions and generals with AoE. So if he had, say, I don't know, Frostbow Naga or something, right? Then he could put it right here and it would affect all of us. By moving the Vindicator down here, he takes away any one spot to do that. So, if he moves Vindicator down here, then he can't put an Ironcliffe Guardian here that would provoke everybody. It would have to provoke at best 2 of us. So I think that was probably a wiser move that he should have done, but it's sort of a moot point. Like I like where he's at right now. He's protected his creatures and his general from, you know, these two threats, and done so in a way that's developed his board. So I like that. Tombstone flying in. Sunbloom. Oh yeah, it wasn't exactly what I had mentioned, but that's another great reason and a great example of why it's good to, you know, separate your guys sometimes. Roar on the Tombstone. Huh. That's a very aggressive attack. It's a very aggressive attack. He's at 13. You got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's very close to dying here. I'd be very scared of Divine Bond. In fact, double Divine Bond is pretty frightening as well. One thing I think I would do is, I really don't want to Mechantra Warbeast this Dial Toss, because that's going to spawn a new Tombstone nearby, which then would have 10 health, which would let it be a more potent threat to kill with Divine Bond. I really like the idea of overloading, moving here, attacking, putting our opponent to 9, and then playing Mechantra Warbeast, I think right here, and attacking. Opponent goes to 5, right? And this becomes 6 power, so it's not totally lethal. We'd be at 9. Yeah, you could do with a it would be lethal with a general attack, right? But you could position your minions such that he couldn't attack with both his general and the Tombstone. Man, it's a real shame that this natural selection's not going to get to do anything. All right. I wouldn't hate playing Dark Nemesis either, by the way. All right, let's see what our opponent does. Or let's see what our hero does. Just regardless. All right, he replaces the Flash Reincarnation. That's a fine decision. All right, so I think this is something to note. Like, there's certainly the temptation there, right, to kill the Dial Toss. But if you had moved your general into the corner, the Dial Toss isn't reaching you, and now you've got another Tombstone that's threatening to, like, mess things up for you, right? Now that having been done, I think you obviously overload here, and the question is, do you come in and attack or not? I think you're pretty much dead to a Divine Bond at this point in time, I think. Almost irrespective of what you do. I guess you could overload and move down here, and that would only deal 8 damage, but you're certainly dead to 2 Divine Bonds. Now I think you're dead to a regular old Divine Bond. And that's something to always keep in mind, in my opinion. What could my opponent have that could kill me? So, I don't think I would have attacked there, because now all he has to do is move his general back, move this forward, and Divine Bond it up, and you're dead. If you had stayed at 11, he would have had to have found a way to clear out one of these 2 creatures so that he could attack with both his general and this Tombstone. We'll see what happens. Likewise, I don't think I would have attacked there. Well, he missed an attack over here, by the way. Yeah. Saber-Spine Tiger. Okay. That's sort of not what I expected, but sure. All right, so I think that is a good example of knowing how much burst that your opponent could potentially have and deciding when it's correct to attack an opponent. So yeah, you could have been like, I'll risk it, right? I don't think you needed to do that. Even if he didn't have Tiger, he could have come down with his 210 or 2/6 tombstone, killed your Vindicator, and then moved his general right below your general, and then moved his 0/10 tombstone, right in that diagonal space. Holy immolated there. I don't know. Holy immolation just in general messed you up a lot. Anyway, hope that was helpful. This is, I think, going to consist of the first video. I'll plan on making some future videos, further videos in the series. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And if you're interested in hearing some comments on your games, feel free to post in the Discord server that I am providing a link of below. All right, thanks.